Hey guys, before we start the show, I wanted to let you know that we've posted our first piece of bonus content to the Patreon. You need to be a $5 a month or higher tier to access that content, but it's a bonus episode where we force Nick to listen to us do what we do here, but instead of a Bible story, we used The Martian, the Matt Damon, Ridley Scott movie. He does not like it, and I think you will, so please check that out. Thanks. Welcome to the King James Virgin, where each and every week my friends Alan and Adam recount Bible stories from their childhood to me. I've never heard them before. I'm Nick.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Adam. This week on the King James Virgin, we render that introduction pointless.
Yeah, I don't know why you said all that.
We're doing something special this week, which
totally
is
different.
We have our very first guest.
What? A guest?
Yeah. This week's guest is Evie, and we welcome you to Evie's Catholic Corner.
Ta-da! Hello, I'm Evie. Thanks
Hi,
for having
Evie.
me.
Thank you for coming on to the podcast.
What's Evie doing on the podcast?
Good question. Evie, what are you doing here?
I am going to teach you all about a couple saints,
Whoa.
Wonderful.
presuming that you don't have any previous knowledge of saints.
Peter
Mother
was
Teresa?
a saint and
right.
started
Recent
the
one.
Catholic Church. Don't all popes have to be saints or have proven miracles or something? That's
Not all popes,
Is the person who found
but many popes.
not all popes.
is the person who found the toast with Jesus' face on it? Are they saints?
No, it's a complicated process of canonization.
Are you going to go over the canonization?
Not in detail.
Okay. Well, so
All you need to know is that there are 4 levels, and it's really hard to get to actual saint.
Are there levels of sainthood?
Well, the final level is saint.
Oh, what do you know what the
stages?
what's a previous?
Well, so before we get into the levels of canonization,
I'm already into this.
Evie, what is the significance of the saints in your world? So, like growing up, what did the saints mean to somebody growing up as a Catholic?
So growing up, it was always explained to me that you could kind of use the saints to level up your prayers. If this makes sense
Wait,
to
so
you.
they're like buffs to your prayers?
The saints are holier than you could ever hope to be,
Right.
and closer to God. And therefore, if you pray to them, they can kind of put in the good word to the higher ups.
They're like cell phone towers.
Yeah, exactly. They boost the signal.
Yeah,
You would,
okay.
instead of praying directly to Jesus or God, you would pray to a saint and say, "Here's what I'd like you to tell."
Pass it on.
Yeah, in specific
big guy.
instances, like you could pray to the Virgin Mother if it had to do with like women's issues or birth or something. You choose your saints.
They have departments.
Yeah, exactly. The patron saints of.
It's how may I
blank.
direct your call?
So, is there only one patron saint of each individual thing? Are they running out of topics for people to be patron saints of?
No, most saints actually have multiple specialties.
Okay.
And they get very specific.
Okay.
As we enter new digital eras, are there like a patron saint of cell
Android?
phones or
Internet speeds.
yeah?
Well, I'm sure that there's a saint of new technologies and saints of electronics, perhaps even, but
Wow.
but I don't know
But
if
not
it would get
dial-up.
more specific.
Like
yeah.
there's no the patron saint of dial-up is no longer being
The
accessed.
VHS saint.
Yeah, the beta guy just never quite caught on.
So, okay, that's good to know. So, yeah, why don't you tell us as
Who we
much as
talking
you
about?
can about canonization?
Okay. Well,
How does one become a saint? Can we be saints?
first of all, I wanted to say that the early saints really kind of help the Bible stories and then the people in the Bible kind of migrate into European religious consciousness, if that makes sense. So a lot of the early saints are early Christianity adopters
Okay.
that then,
Like a Constantine?
like usually die for
Got it.
converting people or because of their beliefs.
Got it.
Does dying help you become a saint?
Oh, big time.
Like dying with purpose?
So
Yes.
that levels you from a 3 to a 4.
But
Yeah.
you,
Got
and you can't
Martyr.
be a saint living, right? Can you be a
No.
living saint?
No.
You have to die.
You have to
That's
die.
part of the process.
No, but I mean like being a martyr
Martyrdom, right.
would boost you up a level.
Yeah, I think if you're a martyr, that
like a
kind
1.5.
that kind of absolves like the miracle.
Oh, so you may not have to have a miracle.
You have to have
associated?
at least 2 miracles to be a saint, but it can be sort of like glossed over if you're also a martyr.
What qualifies as a miracle? Like, I mean, can you, like, if you just happen to be really lucky at blackjack enough times in a row, is that?
I lost my keys this week, and it turns out I had like those pants with the loose pockets, and they were just between my car seats.
Yeah, you're only one away, dude.
Okay, I thought
Yeah,
so.
I wrote down
One away or a martyrdom.
the miracle.
I'll kill. I mean, I guess if it helps you, I could kill you.
No.
Okay.
I'll just lose something.
Yeah, the miracle process is complicated, but
Can it be the same miracle twice?
I think it can.
Like, could you walk on water twice, or do
Yeah.
you need like disparate miracles?
as long as it is undisputed, basically, and approved by the Pope,
okay,
you're in.
all right.
Post approved, not pre approved.
Post approved.
Okay.
Pope Pap approved.
Can you can you have pre-approved papal permission?
Well, I think Mother Teresa was the most recent one. I mean,
Right.
people thought that she was instant candidate for sainthood, but it really took her several years after she died because
No
of
miracles?
the miracle thing.
Yeah, because miracles don't exist, and now we have like cameras.
I mean, I think Mother Teresa is so cool, and she's got a crazy history, as do a lot of the saints, with like weird kind of self-flagellation things. Like, did you know she wore a band of barbed wire
Oh, she's
underneath
like
her robes,
that
and she
crazy
would
person-
constantly have this like festering wound?
She's like that crazy person in Angels and Demons who like had the oh.
Please
Yeah.
don't reference Dan Brown movies on this podcast.
I'm referencing
draw the
Dan
line.
Brown books. I'm not referencing the movies.
Spin-off podcast, The Dan Brown Virgin.
So anyways, yeah, just real quick, 4 levels of canonization. Level 1, servant of God. Level 2, venerable. Level 3, blessed. Level 4, saint.
And so can you attain any of these while you're living?
Yeah, I think so. I think most of them have to do with how you live your life, how close to God you live on a day-to-day basis. It's complicated, but basically bishops have to nominate you
Okay.
for the process. So the first level is sort of like bishop initiated, and then it goes to the Pope, and then you're eligible to get your feast days, and then the church is built in your honor.
Okay. So feast days are only given to saints, or they're given to people pre-saint?
Pre-saint.
So is there, besides a feast day, which does sound cool, I would totally like be in it for just a feast day, but is there a benefit to praying to somebody who's like just venerated, or somebody who's at like a 2 or 3 rather than, does it need to be a full on 4 for you to go like
No,
get
I think
brownie points?
I think that all are acceptable.
Okay. So depending on what you're wanting, so I could find like the venerated person of dial up.
Sure.
Yes.
Is there like indie?
And you could, because they're still living, you could just go up to them.
Right.
And say, hey, pass this along.
Is there like indie cred with going with lesser known non-saints? Like
I'm sure in certain circles, yeah, it's like, ooh,
the cool angels?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
you're praying to Francis?
I don't go full
no
saint.
way. That's a little mainstream for me.
Also, would you maybe bring lesser issues to lower people? Like if it's not a life or death, you're just like, I don't know, I've got like a toothache. This doesn't seem like something that I need.
There's definitely a saint for that.
Yeah, gotta be.
A full-blown saint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess toothaches were a much bigger deal, say 150 years ago.
But anyways, yeah,
So does that, does that answer
No,
your,
I mean, I
your
got tons.
non-Catholic childhood questions
I have
of becoming
tons.
saints?
the praying to saints gets complicated for people of other religions
Yeah.
because a lot of people consider it a form of paganism or like
Idolatry,
worship.
yeah.
Teacher Alan has
Saint-
his finger raised.
Saint Apollonia? is the saint of toothaches.
No. Saint Apollonia.
There really is like one for everything. I do know
You're
that.
going to find out real
Anything for
quick.
dial-up?
So Evie, you've got a couple
Yeah, I brought
stories
two
for
saints
us.
to tell you about today.
What's the first saint?
The first saint is Saint Agatha.
Agatha Christie. Saint Agatha Christie? Patron saint of mysteries?
Patron saint of mysteries.
Little pre-Agatha Christie. Okay. She was born in 231 AD to a noble Sicilian family. All right.
Wow. She's like OG. Saint.
This is what I'm talking about.
This is pre-Catholic Church, was it? Isn't
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yeah, so this is like early. This is how the Catholic Church basically came to power in Italy, or Italy in particular, is with all of these saints.
That would have been close to Fall of Rome, is my history. Fact checker Alan. Is that close to the Fall of Rome? Well, Alan types away. Sorry.
No problem.
There is a saint of the internet, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Isidore of Seville.
Wow.
Who tried to record everything ever known.
Oh, yeah, because
He was declared the patron saint of the internet by Pope John Paul II.
That's
in
interesting.
1997.
JP2.
I do remember there being a Catholic thing where they were like basically archiving the entire internet, and that must have been his thing.
Yep.
Cool.
Amazing.
All right.
Patron saint of porn at this point.
So Agatha, when she was 15, she converted to Christianity and took a vow of chastity.
Ooh, a little early for that.
Shortly thereafter, she was pursued by a Roman judge. She pursued his advances because of her vow, and because he was a judge, he had her arrested because of her newly found faith. Guess who was proceeding at the trial?
Well, he was.
He was.
Yeah. Yeah, this is totally a kangaroo court.
So he sent her to a brothel for a month where she was molested,
Classic
raped,
punishment.
and beaten.
Whoa. That's nuts.
Oh, it gets worse.
Oh, cool.
So then she had to go to prison. Here's all the things that happened to her. She was stretched with hooks, burned, whipped, and had her breasts cut off.
Oh.
Pretty intense. Okay.
Stretched with hooks as in like they just like hooked her in and then pulled?
Yep.
I kind of have a feeling that like all saints could be the saint of like BDSM.
Oh, totally.
Because I feel like this probably happened
This
to
is
a lot
pretty
of them.
common,
Yeah.
pretty common saint territory. All right. So anyways, then she was sentenced to be burned at the stake.
Okay.
But miraculously,
Oh, is this miracle number one?
an earthquake happened.
Okay.
So like the whole city basically was flattened. So she had to get moved to another prison. While she was in that prison, St. Peter the Apostle appeared to her and healed her wounds.
Oh.
That's miracle number 2.
I think so.
Oh, dang.
But
that's some tight miracling.
That seems like more of like his thing than her thing, right?
He was already way dead.
Okay.
I mean, I guess like being able to call up a spirit,
Yeah.
which is not what you'd say in this situation.
It's complicated. And remember, it's only 230,
AD.
251 AD. So
So you could die from a scratch.
yeah, and I'm sure a lot of this
just
was
wounds.
passed down.
Somehow not from being torn apart by hooks.
So that's why it's a miracle.
Yeah, that's why it's a miracle.
Wounds healing.
To be
miracle.
fair, it does feel a little bit like we don't know how long there was between times that they checked it. If the entire city was down for like a month because of this, earthquake, she could have just healed. But I do like the idea that like we haven't checked on her. We just checked on her. Everything's healed. Miracle number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so then she was continually tortured in this new prison, and then she eventually died in 251 AD. So
What is she the patron saint of then?
we're getting there.
Okay.
So she's often represented as this virginal figure with her breasts on a silver platter.
Now, is that part of the story? They let her keep them?
No, I don't think so. I just love that like Renaissance artists were like, ooh,
put 'em on
let's
a
put those
platter.
boobs on a platter.
I'm not drawing this lady without those boobs.
Right. Like, yeah.
I can do a portrait and a still life.
Right. How do I like indicate this is a woman? Oh, I'll put her boobs on the platter.
I just Wikipedia'd it.
Oh, that's
and,
unfortunate.
and it looks like a 1950s Jello dessert. Like they're very round.
Totally. Okay. And then I love this so much. Her feast day is on February 5th, and it's usually celebrated in Italy with breast-shaped pastries made of marzipan and ricotta.
Talk about like silver lining of that whole story. Like what you
Right?
come up with is like, oh, we can make boob cakes.
Yes. I love it so much. Okay.
Whole small towns
So-
economies survive on.
So basically, that's
Boob cakes.
her whole life story. She is the patron saint of breast cancer, martyrs,
Wow.
wet nurses, bell founders, bakers, fires.
Hold on, wet nurses?
Uh-huh.
No. She couldn't be a wet nurse. Like they removed the one qualification.
I don't make the rules.
That's fair.
Earthquakes and eruptions of Mount Etna.
Just that one mountain.
Cool.
Yeah, just the one mountain.
Okay. I guess I see how you could maybe be more specific. Like we got plenty of shit. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you're the patron saint of this river flooding or not flooding.
Yep, totally.
Okay.
There's a lot of options for what you can be the patron saint of. Anyways, she's kind of cool. Yeah, I really do like the art with her and the breasts on the
Some
silver
of it
platter.
is more horrifying.
So check.
Sure, her being tortured, presumably.
We'll put the photo in the show notes on kingjamesvirgin.com so you can check out the awesome boob.
I'll
cake.
throw
Sure, it's a painting, not a photo.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's a photo.
I'll throw it on our Instagram as well.
Perfect.
For those of you who don't know me in real life, I often jokingly refer to myself as a late blooming goth. And I think that my Catholic education, particularly pre-confirmation, you have to choose a saint. And so you do a lot of research on all of these saints and all of these stories. And that's when this was my all-time favorite part of formal religious education. It's just learning about these horrible things that happened. And I think that it definitely informed my current human.
Oh, totally. So when you're researching these saints, how is that? Is there like a book that you're given? Is it like is there like a watered down version of saint stories, and then you like to for deep cuts you have to like search other
Definitely. I mean, there's some favorites that have
sure.
volumes dedicated to them, but I was always into the sort of the lesser known saints with the weirder stories.
Right.
Indie cred.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the way.
Right, and presumably better stories.
Yeah.
Like St. Francis.
Yeah. He's just a monk who liked animals.
You like animals? Yeah. I know that one.
This is sort of like going to be the gist of, is this entertaining to people?
Yeah.
People like this?
Great.
And you've got one more for us, right?
I do have one more.
So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the King James Virgin. And we're back here on the King James Virgin.
All right. For saint number 2, I thought I would give you a little bit more of a mainstay as far as the canon goes.
Yeah.
Any guesses?
I mean, I'm going to guess a Cece just because it's the biggest.
Is the guy who musicked the snakes out of Ireland a saint?
Music to the snakes.
Yeah.
Wasn't a flute?
It's Patrick, isn't it? Isn't
Yeah.
it? St.
I think
Patrick?
so,
That's
yeah.
St. Patrick. Like,
Yeah.
Is that who you're doing?
No.
Oh.
who are you doing?
So hold on.
I got
but you
no
think we
guesses.
may have heard of him?
Yeah.
It's him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this the saint of lost things?
No.
Isn't that your saint?
The Borrowers?
That's St. Anthony.
Saint Anthony.
Okay.
Bartholomew a saint?
I think Bartholomew is
Saint
a
Bart.
saint.
Yeah.
St. Bart's. Oh,
Yep.
oh, that's really easy. We just go by any place that's like called. Oh, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Are we close
Totally.
at all?
Wow, I just
No.
How did
Is
I
there a
never
city?
put that together?
No.
Oh.
You guys aren't close at all.
St. Peter? Oh, St. Petersburg.
It is Saint Sebastian. Maybe
Is that
it's,
the arrows?
yeah.
Oh, I was going to say
Exactly.
patron saint of being under the sea.
He's really there's a lot of art on this one.
Arrows?
Yeah, you'll see.
You'll see.
Okay. All right. Saint Sebastian was a captain in the Roman army. He was already a Christian, and he very covertly started converting people to Christianity.
That sounds about right.
One woman he miraculously cured of her muteness through conversion.
Her muteness? As in like
She was mute.
She was mute.
Then
She
she
was-
converted to Christianity.
she was no longer
Then
she no
could
longer
talk
wanted
again.
mutiny? Wait, so being mutinous is a disease?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
You didn't know that? Fully curable.
As an adult, I
to know.
thought that I would run into a lot more mute people.
Oh, muteness. I was thinking like mutiny.
No.
Like I was like, wait, what? Yeah.
That's
for
just
sure.
kind of, you were thinking of just kind of some
People rebelling.
unrest,
Yeah, I was thinking
anger.
like it was like she was always just stirring up shit in her town, and it's like you converted and you're no longer.
In fact, quite the opposite. She was
Yeah.
not stirring up shit in
Now-
town
No.
because
now she can.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So anyways,
same page.
Even though he was pretty discreet because being a Christian was illegal at the time,
Right.
he eventually was found out. When that happened, he was tied to a tree and shot with arrows.
Oh.
It is said he was shot so full of arrows as to look like an urchin and left to die.
That's
As
a
to look
lot
like
of
an
arrows.
All right, up next, then
Wait, so did he die? I mean, he was left to die, but did he die?
we're
He's
going
got
to
a
find
miracle to
out.
perform.
Well, he already got the mute lady.
But
So then this woman named Irene, who is the widow of St. Castulus, went to collect his body and discovered that he was still alive.
Oh.
Pretty crazy.
Oh.
She nursed him back to health. And then when he was well, he went to basically like a parade of the emperor. And he stood on the sidelines and openly mocked the emperor, basically saying that he should be ashamed of himself for the treatment of Christians.
Whoa.
And so the emperor had him clubbed to death and thrown in a common sewer.
sorry, thrown into a
Common sewer.
Oh, so he's clubbed,
Clubbed to death.
open wounded, and then like
not even tossed into the rich people's sewer, the common sewer.
because it really matters.
Oh, it
when you're
matters.
falling
Yep.
into shit. Whose shit
Yeah.
it is?
Then Lady Lucina, who had a vision, collected his body from the common sewer
Yeah.
and then put him in the catacombs where later his basilica was built.
Oh, so he got a building out of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, you were spot on with the arrows. Very iconic art. It is said that Saint Sebastian is the first gay icon.
I actually knew that as well.
How?
A lot of Renaissance art really focuses on his sort of like euphoric and pain-free arrow.
He's always handsome and young too.
Yeah.
But being stabbed by arrows is
Yeah,
somehow a
always
euphemism for being gay?
Mostly nude. Yeah, it's
Huh. That seems like a bit of a stretch.
totally a stretch. Face of ecstasy, mostly nude.
Arrows of desire.
Wouldn't he just mean he's just into pain? He's just the patron
Yeah, a
saint
lot of
S&M?
penetration.
All right.
Oh, I mean, yeah, fair.
I
I remember
feels
Saint
like an old. Oh, Alan is showing us a picture of it,
Mm-hmm.
which we'll also put on the website and the Instagram.
There's a ton of art on
so
Saint
much
Sebastian,
art.
though.
And I always
famous
remember
artists.
the REM video, Losing My Religion. There's a Saint Sebastian scene, very young
Yeah.
Saint Sebastian.
Look at that. Just did a little pop-up video for you.
Cool.
All right. I mean, he doesn't have as many specialties as Saint Agatha, but he's the patron saint of archers, pin makers, athletes, and soldiers.
It seems like they kind of claimed that after oh yeah, also he's our saint.
Yeah. Pen makers.
Pin maker, P-I-N,
Yeah.
pin makers.
Like as in you're going to write.
No.
PIN.
Oh,
P-I-N.
P-I-N. Pin makers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that tracks a little bit.
Anyways,
Although, like, I don't know
cushions.
if I had been like pin cushioned with arrows, I'm not sure I'd want to be the patron saint of arrows. I guess most people are patron saint of what
Well,
they
but that's
died
the whole
of.
thing. I mean,
Yeah, because Agatha is, breast cancer.
Yeah.
Who was the patron saint of sewers then?
I don't know.
Because that's really what killed him.
Yeah, there's got to be one. No, it was the clubbing
I
that
guess the
killed
clubbing
him.
killed him.
The sewer didn't help. If he was still alive, I'm sure that he got some sort of infection. Yeah, I think that I was pretty surprised to hear that he was a gay icon. I mean, of course, his art is very noticeable, very iconic, but
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Is it something that has been claimed by the gay community?
Oh, definitely.
Oh, okay. So that
Like early on gay community.
okay, that makes more sense. I was thinking that the Catholic Church was putting that on him. It's like that
No.
seems like a weird.
Yeah, also, Muhammad Ali had a photo shoot as Saint Sebastian
Oh,
Whoa.
where he's wearing like his boxing shorts, but he's got like arrows in him.
Is that before he became a gay icon? Because
Is Muhammad Ali a gay icon?
no, I mean Saint Sebastian.
yeah, it was just,
Though, I mean, of course it's open to interpretation, but I think that Sebastian has been a gay icon since like Renaissance
Oh,
art.
OG
times.
gay
Yeah.
icon.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, Renaissance era, like Catholic culture is pop culture. And so you're
Totally.
looking for anything that would, it's just interesting to put, Barbara Streisand and Saint Sebastian on the same foothold.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that Saint Sebastian died in 288 AD.
Oh, another OG.
Yeah. So these guys are super OG.
Oh, okay. Of course. Catholic or Roman.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. The Muhammad Ali is because he, when he converted to Islam, he was protesting the Vietnam War. And because he he was avoiding the draft, they stripped him of his title, fined him $10,000. He was arrested. He never served time. So that's kind of the martyr cover.
Oh, so he just looked for a martyr.
Yeah.
And basically took.
But that
Saint
makes sense.
Sebastian.
And Saint Sebastian's the saint of athletes. So I'm sure that he latched onto that.
There you go.
That tracks.
Even though he wasn't Catholic.
Yeah. I think most people think that saints are just for Catholics or Roman Catholics in particular, but it's also Eastern Orthodox and I think Lutheran might have some saints incorporated as well.
And there's other like some Eastern religions even have, obviously different saints.
But have a veneration process.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Lutheran just because they would have pushed back on the multiple ways to go, like the idolatry might be an issue for Lutherans, but I definitely know we had friendly friends who were Eastern Orthodox and yeah, definitely into the saints.
Ooh, I'm so into that. I don't know much about Eastern Orthodox, but I love that they, there's a lot of similarities between Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox, but they cross themselves with the opposite way as Roman Catholic.
Really?
So that's how you can tell. Yeah.
East side, west side.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wait, how do you do it?
Okay, we can't see. So
So-
it's head, left side, right side.
No. Head,
Middle.
chest,
Left, right.
left, right.
Okay.
And they
do
go
right, left.
Yeah.
But do they do head, chest first?
Yeah.
Still? So they go north, south,
West, east.
Yeah.
west, east.
Then east, west. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
We'll have to find out.
Do they also wear blue bandanas?
I don't know. I do know that Andy Warhol.
What? Was this a Bloods and a Crips reference?
Yeah.
Okay.
East side, west side?
Yeah. No.
Andy Warhol was always embarrassed that he crossed himself the opposite way, even though he would usually go to St. Patrick's in New York.
Was he Eastern Orthodox?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. I think he went to mass every day.
Our family friends are Armenian, and so I believe it's a kind of an offshoot. Armenian Orthodox is an offshoot of like Greek Orthodox. And I believe they went to a Greek Orthodox church, and I went to a funeral there, and it was like this church was insane, like just gilded to.
Oh yeah.
And there's just like icon after icon after icon and portraits all around the building, and it's really interesting because like especially with the Greek Orthodox, like it's Catholic, but then like if you like ratchet in a bunch of like kind of Middle Eastern iconography, and so it's this interesting cross section. And like as a Protestant, grown up Protestant, like it felt very culty or like mysticky, even though it wasn't. It's still within the realm of Christianity. And it just was. I remember feeling very conflicted about the imagery around me, going like, this doesn't feel Western Christianity. Like,
sure.
It's just an interesting.
Early Christianity was kind of crazy. A lot of early converts were alchemists. They believed in mysticism. We saw a lot of that in our most recent travels. But I do kind of love that feeling still exists. That there's like this weird other.
Well, and
part
like
to it.
The Eastern Orthodox priests look awesome. Like it's just awesome. Anyway.
Well, Evie, thank you a lot for dropping some knowledge.
Yeah, I can't wait for the next time we have some more saints.
Maybe I'll bring some boob-shaped pastries next time.
Oh, hell yeah.
So we'll be right back here on the King James Virgin. And we're back here on the King James Virgin.
I'm a little jealous of like Evie's church experience growing up because there's like fancy robes and
for sure
gilded figures, and we were like fancy jeans and like a Gap button up in a gymnasium
well and like
with folding chairs
and like even as a child,
all the lights on.
Well, and depending on where you're going to Catholic Mass, like you get neon lights around your like virgin statues.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah. Aesthetically.
Yeah.
We built a new church when I was like, I don't know, 12, 13. And like everything is in like shades of forest greens and these plums. And like the churches just look like, I don't know, shitty boomer homes.
Oh man. Yeah. I think I definitely took it for granted growing up within the church, but it was very cool. I mean, you all know that it's a very small town church, but we had terrazzo floors and these gorgeous statues all over the place. Yeah, lots of gold foil, lots of like gorgeous lanterns, and every do you guys burn incense in your church?
Oh no,
absolutely not.
Okay. Like these gorgeous, like everything was on chains, and there were always candles and incense and just like beautiful singing, beautiful organ. And this was like small peanuts in the Catholic Church world.
I love so much right now that the two of you, Alan and Adam, are just looking so bummed out. Like so bummed out.
We just sat quietly for 2 hours and then went had vegetarian food and went home.
I mean, it's kind of funny. I mean, I know several people who aren't believers, but regularly go, or at least like yearly go to Christmas Mass just because for the beauty, and they just go as a piece of artistic expression that they're wanting to.
Well, and also in the 90s, a lot of Protestant Christian churches were throwing out all of their tradition.
Oh yeah, the liturgy was just gone.
Sure.
Yeah, to be like progressive and have guitars, and so I think that bit of tradition feels good, around like Christmas and Easter.
No guitars in a Catholic church.
No, the ritual is so nice. Even just like the podiums, and the altar is all made out of marble and has every altar has a relic embedded into it. We'll get into that maybe next episode.
We need to talk about that.
And like we were also throwing out podiums because all the pastors went to like Britney Spears mics.
Yeah, Britney Spears, but then also like they would still have a podium because they need somebody to put their notes, so it would be like acrylic. They would have lots of acrylic podiums.
Man.
And then in college it was like a laptop. Yeah, or no, an iPad.
We even had these cool, like all of the tomes were like gilded in metal and like 2 foot by 1.5 foot, just like dun dun dun.
When we were kids,
when you're an altar like boy or whatever, you have to like carry this giant book, and it's like like you can hardly carry it, but it makes it feel so weighty and purposeful.
The word of God has like heft to it.
Well, when we were kids, they still had like a fancy table at the front with a beautiful giant Bible, but it was really in the 90s they were just destroying anything old like that.
With the exception of like communion plates. Communion plates were still like insanely gilded, and like there's like all these little vestiges left over, but for the most part, you're right.
There's this weird desire to get rid of everything old and make it.
Well, you're trying to like resonate with the culture.
90s. Yeah, that's probably true.
That's a shame.
Were you, Evie, did you go through Mass as in Latin, or was it mostly in English by the time? Mostly
in English. Well, yeah, after Vatican II, then Masses were mostly in English, but then there would be specialty Latin Masses, usually once or twice a year for big days on the calendar.
We'll definitely have to get into what the hell Vatican II is at some point, because... I didn't know there was a sequel.
The Vatican got an upgrade.
Yeah.
Well, Evie, thanks again.
Of course.
For joining us.
Having me.
Please come back.
Yeah.
You are my favorite person. That'll do it, I think, for us this week on the King James Virgin.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. And also special thanks to John Van Dusen this week for helping us out with an extra mic. Our guest mic got stuck in transit this week, and so John Van Dusen gave us a hand with a mic this week. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at KJVPod. We post regularly on Instagram and Twitter just with kind of updates of what's going on. So it's probably the best way to keep track of us. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. It really helps us out, raising to the top of those charts. So if you could spend a little time and throw us a review, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks to Mascaras and Resurrection Records for the use of our theme song, Kixari, off the album El Moran. Because we love what they're doing, we're featuring a different Resurrection artist. And this week, we're using Bear Call. So be sure to listen to that at the end of this episode.
So that'll do it for us this week on the King James Virgin. Until next week, thanks for listening. Get canonized. So we can get him some out.
by Sonic Bazaar.